And ta-da! We are live! Sunday, February 26, 2023. Oh my gosh, my beautiful friends. We haven't been doing this for a while and it's been so busy. A lot of things happening, a lot of amazing things happening. But we have not forgotten about you, our beautiful friends. So hopefully everyone is having an amazing Sunday. And we are continuing in our never-ending education as more fraud is being discovered and uncovered and exposed. It's absolutely incredible. It will blow your minds because it blew my mind. When I started to learn it, did it blow your mind too?
No, I've been around it for a while.
I know, he's a very old man.
Yeah, I'm a hermit.
So we are just waiting for people to join in. We are doing live. My gosh, we took a break from doing this about a month, so great apologies. We have not forgotten about you, but like I mentioned, we've been super busy with doing some very powerful, important projects and just improving our methods. And we actually have a pretty big group now. The counties are forming, people are learning, and so a lot of amazing stuff is happening. So it looks like we are live. I don't see anyone. We will just continue. For some reason we should have interruption. It's kind of a bit strange. Hopefully there has been so much shadow banning that it's not even funny, but that's the part of the journey when you are actually speaking the truth. They don't want you to do that. They don't. They will just try everything. On my other device, I cannot even use my other device because let us get a little light here. Oh yeah, don't tread on me. I like that. How about that? Do you see that? It's so cool. But no one is live. My gosh, this is strange. But anyway, we are going to do this. If you are watching this on a replay, sorry for that. A few minutes of introduction here and just chit-chatting because we are waiting for people to join in on live. But we will just continue regardless. So we are starting with this very important education on mortgages. All right. A lot of people work very hard, and one of the biggest assets and investment is buying a home, right? And so I remember when I moved to America, 30 years ago, that was one of the things. It was my dreams. I wanted to buy my own home. I was renting. What are you doing there? I was renting, and I just did not enjoy renting. I didn't want someone to tell me what I can do and gonna do with my own space. And so I wanted to have my own space, and so I was very focused and smart, so I could actually purchase a home. But what did I find out is when I actually was then going through the paperwork is that I went from being a tenant, and then I was looking at my deed of trust, and it said that I'm a tenant. And I remember I was at the closing, closing of the escrow, and I was asking all these people, hey, what does it mean that I'm a tenant on my own property now that I'm buying? And I remember, my real estate agent, she just said, oh, don't worry about it. And the title agent, oh, it's just how we do it. And then, the mortgage lender, oh, yeah, it's just formality. Don't worry about it. It's your home, it's your house you are buying. And I'm kind of like thinking, don't worry about it. So I was renting, I was a tenant, and I became tenant again. It just was not really making sense. And that's kind of where my journey of discovery started. So that's what we will be discussing today, that there is actually another fraud that we are dealing with. So Doug, maybe why don't we start with, because this is something you will need to wrap your minds around, that we actually live in a world, in a society where we don't have real money. And when I say we don't have real money, is the things that you think and call money, the green FRNs, Federal Reserve notes, are not really real money. Because if you read the Constitution, the supreme law of the land, sorry, can you guys stop this?
Well, yeah, as soon as he lays down.
Yeah, we have a
I have a 180-pound dog over here that's trying to make an appearance.
Make appearance on the video. So anyway, so going back to the subject of money, okay? So money, if you read the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution, it will tell you in Article 1, Section 10, that only lawful money is silver or gold coins. So what is this green papers called FRNs? Well, they are really dead notes, right? So we have no money, of exchange, and actually money, lawful money, we have only money of account, where you are either creditor or debtor. So what we will do today is we will walk you through the process of purchasing a property, right? What actually happens, and what I think we will have to do is we will have to do it in several videos, so you can start wrapping your mind around it, okay? So I've been through it, okay? So I worked hard, and I saw this beautiful house, and I said, well, I want to buy this house, right? And it cost, I forget what it was. Let's say $500,000, right? This house costs $500,000. You don't have the money, right? But you go and you contact the real estate agent, and I remember it was this very nice lady, and she was very professional. She was wearing a nice suit, nice clean car, and she took me to the property. She showed me the house, she showed me the land around it, the property around it, and yeah, that's what I am buying, right? I'm buying this house and this land that the house sits on, right? Because without the land, you cannot have the house, right? So one cannot be without the other. So then, she says, oh yeah, no problem, you can get mortgage for it, right? So the whole process starts. So you enter into the escrow, and they tell you, oh yeah, just fill out this application for the $500,000, and it's a promise that you will pay that $500,000, and you sign it, right? And then you wait, and they approve you, and you have the down payment, right? And there's 30-day escrow, and at the end of escrow, then they say, okay, now here is your house, here is your deed. They of course register it with the county that the property is in, and now you get this deed of trust, or you get warranty deed, or I have also corporate deed. And once again, I went from being tenant, renting from a landlord, and now I get this corporate deed and warranty deed of trust, and it says that once again I am a tenant. So Doug, tell us what actually happens in the process. No way! Yeah. Seriously?
Yeah, look, the only thing you bought is this right here.
It's the APN. We did plenty of videos, okay? And so what did I actually buy? What did people buy when they buy a house. They think they buy that house and the land that the real estate agent showed them, right? But we bought APN.
No, there is no land. Okay, what happened was all the land. Well, let's go back to 1933, where all the property was pledged by the treasonous governors of the states in a declaration of interdependence, where they say that all property ownership is in the state and it's mere use by the, actually equitable use by the person that believes that they own the property, okay, at permission of the state. Okay, the state never had any authorization or any delegated power to do any of that crap. Okay, it's called an ultra vires act. They acted in excess of the power that they had, and it's void ab initio. Okay, what they've done is they've come in and they've overlaid. Okay, and what I mean by an overlay is if you go down and get the surveyor's map. Okay, and what I mean by a surveyor's map, it's signed by a licensed surveyor. It's in meets and bounds. Okay, they don't want you to have that map because that's the way that you get control over your property, by getting the actual meets and bounds description. They make meets and bounds description that are ridiculous. They don't reference any monuments that it comes off of to get to the place where you got your first property pipe, and then go around it to make your meets and bounds description of that property. And if you don't go off of a set monument, surveyor's monument, it doesn't mean shit. Okay? It's just gobbledygook that the county put at you to make you think that you have something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, what happens is you go in and they tell you that they're going to give you a loan. Okay? Now, you got to understand what a loan is. A loan is something of theirs of exchange or substance, okay, that they have in their account that belongs to them, that you take full custody, control, and care of before there is a loan, okay? That's not happening. You don't get anything. What you do is you go in and you put your name down on what they call an application, which is really a commercial instrument, because as soon as you sign it, it's a promise to pay. Okay, that's the actual commercial instrument note. They go and either trade that at the Federal window for Federal Reserve notes, okay? And let's get to Federal Reserve notes, all right? They're as good as a toilet paper is even better to wipe your ass with because it's softer and it has more value because you have to pay more for it than they have to print the notes, okay? So they're not even good for toilet paper, all right? You can probably burn a bunch of them to stay warm, you know what I mean, in the wintertime to start a fire, but they're not worth anything.
This is the mind shift that you guys have to really, you have to comprehend it, that the numbers and the stack of these papers you might have is actually represents debt. That's not backed by anything.
But it also, look, it's also belongs to a private bank, okay?
Yep.
Private banking association.
Right.
That is their debt notes or their credit. So you're actually using something that belongs to somebody else to try to buy something for you.
Right.
Okay? So you have no interest in it because you gave no substance for it. You gave no exchange for it. There is no money of exchange. They took that.
So let's talk a little bit about money of exchange.
Okay, money of exchange. Gold, silver, platinum, corn, coffee beans, whatever. It's something of substance and value, right?
Of value, right.
That you've traded your sweat equity for, and that you can trade for something that you need. Okay? The only reason that these Federal Reserve notes have any value is because it's the full faith and the credit of the people that back them up. Okay?
Right.
So they're based on everything that we own. All right? And they didn't have any right to do that. All right? There's no, go look in all the constitutions. All right? Show me where it allows the government to operate as a debtor. It doesn't. It mandates that they have gold and silver coin. All right? So when they start operating as a debtor, go look at the Clearfield Doctrine. Okay? Clearfield Trust Doctrine. Okay? Clearfield Trust Company against the United States. All right? And what that says is when a corporation steps down from its sovereignty, all right, and the United States was a corporation, created District of Columbia, in the District of Columbia Act, it was a municipal corporation, and they spread it throughout the United States in an overlay. They overlaid their territorial jurisdiction over our original jurisdiction and made us buy it. okay? Because the corrupt politicians and traitorous bastards that were running the country at the time went along with it. And our forefathers weren't as astute as our founding fathers, or they would have hung them, okay? So they carried on, and their families have carried on to this day.
Right.
They're a bunch of corrupt pieces of shit that have been in charge. They took our money. They've made us slaves. They've put us into involuntary servitude with their system of constructive fraud, all right? And it's time to stand up and kick them in the ass.
So let's talk about the application note. Going back to that, right?
Okay.
So you are at the closing of escrow.
No, you're at the beginning.
You
of
are at
it.
the beginning of opening. Oh, sorry.
You're
In
at
the
the
escrow process.
No,
in the
you're at
escrow
the beginning.
process.
You're at the beginning of these people advertise crap, okay? And they're all in the same club. They're all licensed by the corporate state, okay? And each of them are compartmentalized. So you've got the real estate attorney that really thinks they're doing shit good, right? But they're called an attorney because they attorn your property over to the state.
Literally, it's a license to steal.
Okay, they're licensed by the state. So the procedures that they're given in their little deal, right? Okay, the real estate agent, they go out there and they make you think you're buying all this property and all this land and this house and all this crap. You're not getting any of that. What you're buying is a square on a special map in the assessor's drawer, okay, at the assessor's office. It's an APN number.
Assessor's
parcel number.
So the way how you need to look at it is you are basically buying this overlay, this fiction that's kind of floating above your land. I actually, one of my properties, if reading through the documents, I bought interest in space only. All right.
1/25 of the undivided general space.
The way how they fool people is unbelievable. It's incredible because they've been doing it for so long, and we are not paying attention. But once you start paying attention and you actually start reading through all this crap that they are literally putting into these agreements, it will just make your head just spin. All right. So going back to the application. All right. So you want that house. It's $500,000 house. The real estate agent show you the property, the house. It has 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. It has beautiful yard. It has barbecue on it. But they didn't tell you that that's not what you are actually buying, all right? What you are buying is the APN, which is basically defined by the overlay the assessor did, all right? So they took the surveyor's map with all the meets and bounds, and meets and bounds is basically giving you the precise description of the land. It goes from this pipe to that pipe, this degree, that degree, and that's the only description of a land you can have. So then these fraudsters come in, okay, and they created their own maps on top of that, okay, and they put their parcels, their numbers and stuff, so it looks real to you, right? But they don't disclose the fact that you are buying this fictitious, made up interest in a piece of paper, on a piece of paper.
Well, land is only conveyed in meets and bounds in the United States,
of America.
And land isn't really sold; it's granted or assigned.
Fine, right?
Okay, and so what happens is they put all the land into 2 trusts when the United States went into a voluntary bankruptcy. All right, and so they held the land until the 3rd and final bankruptcy, and they were supposed to give all the land back, but they tried to come at everybody with, well, you know what, we've had it in trust so long, we don't know who really owns it, so we're going to hold it in trust until it's actually claimed by the owners, right? Well, the only way you can claim it is through bringing forth the land patent and showing them that, you know what, look, this meets and bounds description of this township in this section right here belongs to me and to my family. And then you have it removed from their tax roll because it's no longer real estate, okay? It becomes a private dwelling.
Right.
All right.
So let's go back to the application, all right? So now you are at the table and you are filling out the application, which says, Joe.
Stop it, man. what is the application? Okay, you put your name, your address, all your financial information, everything about what you have saved, whatever, right? So that they can take a look at you and say, okay, well, check this out. We'll sell them this little piece of paper in that drawer over there for $500,000 and make them pay this much a month, okay? So they bring you in and say, hey, we need you to fill this out. Well, by the time you're done filling it out, what you've done is you've created a promissory note, which in today's monetary system is the same as cash.
Right.
So
your signature, the
creates-
fact that actually you signed this application note is the
Autograph.
money.
You
autographed it, and that's what created that instrument, money, cash. So now what happens then? So you give it to the officers, right? So what happens next?
Well, they're going to deposit it, okay? And I know in the 90s, there was a guy named Tom Schaff that was going around, and he was taking them to task on forensic audits, because what they were doing was they were depositing the note in what was called a transaction account, because it's a transaction that you're doing. It's a banking transaction, and that's all it is, okay? And so in the transaction account, they would make the deposit, and then they would pull the check, the funds for the check to the seller out of that account, okay? Now what that did was that did one banking transaction under the GAAP, because when they deposited it, that was an asset, okay? But for every asset, that's a demand deposit, so when it gets withdrawn, there's a liability because they have to give the money back. The people didn't come in and just make a present to the bank. Okay?
Right, you just didn't gift it this money, this cash to the bank.
But what they're doing is they're loaning you your own credit at interest, okay, which is usury. I mean, this is all fraud and it's unlawful, okay. Now,
According to their own laws.
yeah, well, according to their own private corporate policies, because they can't make laws. They're a municipal corporation. They're not government. Okay, and these are the things that you got to get your mind around. Okay, it's like McDonald's. All right, just because McDonald's has security cards that have guns and they will kill you doesn't make it any more McDonald's. I mean,
Any less McDonald's.
any less McDonald's. All right, I mean they're a corporation. And a corporation cannot be our government. And it's that simple.
So, okay, so you sign, you autograph this application note where you say, I will pay $500,000. So what you guys need to wrap your mind around is that created the cash. That created that $500,000 to purchase that land and the house. All right, so they deposited it, all right, and from that transaction account they gave the money, the credit to the people that own the property, right? And they turn around back to you saying, oh, now we are going to loan you that $500,000 at interest. So now, hold on a second. Now, I would like to ask you, okay? I would like to ask you, this is not rocket science. Is that theft? Was that disclosed to you? Did they tell you that when you fill out this application with your name and all your information, and when you autograph this application, okay, that it creates the money, that creates the cash to purchase that house? Did they disclose that information to you? Did they tell you that? They didn't tell me, and I've been through many of these transactions, right? They didn't tell me that. They didn't also tell me that they will turn around and that they will so-called loan me my own credit at interest. Because if they would have told me, I would say, well, hold on, people. This doesn't make sense, okay? I'm not that stupid, right? And this is what they are banking on, that you guys do not know. You don't know the concept of money, you don't know the history, and you don't know how royally you are being screwed. You are literally creating money because you are the creditors, okay? and you are allowing these institutions, because they are the only ones that are licensed to access that credit, okay, to basically steal from you and charge you interest. But it goes even deeper, because what they do is, and this is really incredible, they create so much paperwork and they create so much hoopla around it that it's almost to bamboozle you, to confuse you, to make it complicated, that you actually don't look for what's going on. You don't look at the core, that we do not have money of exchange since 1933, that we have only money of account, so they are as creditors and they are debtors, and that we the people are actually the creditors, right? And they just have you confused. They have you confused, and no one is looking for the cues.
Well, we're the creditors because we're the creators. Mm-hmm. Okay, the people are the ones that create everything. All right, it's our energy that runs everything, not theirs. These so-called corporate governments are nothing but a bunch of sick parasites. Okay, they try to live off of us and tell us we got to pay taxes. We don't have to pay taxes. That's another bullshit thing that they came up with. You know, all of this stuff that they've done through fraud and through a system of constructive fraud. Here in California, they did it through the 1879 California Constitution that's been repealed. When they repealed that Constitution, they repealed their whole scope of authority for everything that they created under that Constitution, including the offices. These offices don't exist anymore. All right, they're done. They're done. They're null and void, ab initio. But people don't realize that, so you can't really attack that and utilize that to your benefit until now. We've got the evidence of that. All of this stuff that they're doing with these mortgages and all of that, you know, they're a banking transaction. What they're doing is they're monetizing your creditor as a creditor. Monetizing your credit as a creditor. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you sign that thing saying you're going to pay them, all right, that has value to it. So if you're trying to borrow $500,000, well, as soon as you sign that, you've got a cash value on that paper of $500,000. That's what they deposit.
Right.
They don't tell you that.
They don't tell you that. And, you know, it would be perfectly fine, because they are the ones that are licensed, you know, to do these transactions. If they would tell you, all right, I'm going to access your credit. I'm going to access that $500,000 that you need to purchase the property, but I charge 10%, right? So you would say, okay, that sounds like a great deal, right? I will access my $500,000 of credit when I autograph it, which creates the cash, and then I'm going to pay you $50,000. You know, I get the house. You have lawful business, right? You have to make living. That would be fair transactions. But you see, they don't tell you that. They don't offer you that, right? And they keep you nicely in dark, keep feeding you bullshit like mushrooms. All right? This is what's happening, and they are getting rich. You know, I remember when I had one of my businesses a few years back, and I was doing presentation about health into this one brand new mortgage company, and it was like this young couple, and they just started this new mortgage company, and it just went nationwide. They were opening offices left and right, and I remember I went to their headquarters, and it was just elaborate, beautiful, modern. You could just see the money everywhere, and I was wondering, wow, you know, I was a startup business. Like, what am I doing wrong, and what they are doing right? Well, this is how they are doing. They are literally stealing from us, and this is how these businesses and these CEOs and all this, you know, people in these Armani suits and Chinese shoes. This is how they get rich. These banksters, okay? It's a banking cartel that is feeding on our sweat equity, on our hard work. Because we've been bamboozled, we've been kept this, you know, fraud going, and that's all we know. And so one thing I want you to really start realizing, you know, we've been always made believe that criminals are these, homeless people and these gangsters on the streets, right? But what about if the true, real criminals are the ones that are wearing these expensive suits, these Italian suits and these perfect, image, and they come in the Rolls Royce or Bentley or Ferrari or BMW, whatever, right? And they create this image of professional, and they have all the language and the terms, and they, you are sitting with them at a table, right, with these banksters, and they know it, and they will explain to you, and they will keep you busy with their paperwork till there is no tomorrow. And this is how they do it, because you've been fooled. I've been fooled royally, and now we are exposing the fraud, because we, the people, are the creditors. So like I mentioned, what we are dealing with is we are dealing with contracts that basically have no full disclosure. They didn't tell us that they are actually accessing our credit and loaning us our own credit back, right? We didn't have meeting of the minds, right? That, hey, I agree to be stolen from. I agree that you will be the thief, that I'm going to fund this loan, which actually makes me a lender now, right? And that I'm going to give you this $500,000 as a gift for you to turn around and so-called loan me my own credit back and charge me interest, like what, 5%, 6%, whatever the ongoing rate is. All right, this is theft. This is constructive fraud. Then you see what they are actually doing with the counties, that they are all on it, right? We should actually mention that. Okay, so you give them your application note that funds, you are the loaner, you are the lender. All right, so that's something you have to comprehend. By you autographing that note, that creates the money, the credit, right? Then it's deposited, all right? And then what do? Because they showed you the property, the house, but now in all the paperwork, all they are referring to is this APN number, all right? So they are not referring to the land in the meets and bounds, but they are referring to some parcel, made up parcel, by these career criminals called public pretenders, all right, that are supposed to serve us and uphold our constitutionally secured rights, which includes our right to own property, right? So now they converted that actual tangible property and the house into this fiction, okay, this overlay, right? And so what do? Then they record it and register with the county, all right? And we've done videos, and you've been hearing that anything you register with the corporation, because it's not our government, it's a quasi-government, it's a corporation pretending to be government, right? And now that you registered through all these wonderful people at the table, and these perfect Armani suits and perfect makeups and perfect hair and perfect nails, and and they are all compartmentalized, so they are doing their own little part in the system of constructive fraud, so they don't even know, right, that they are part of fraud, right? And you just trust them, you believe them, and so they tell you, oh yeah, and Joe, now you have to, we registered the property with the county, right? There is a recorder, and now it's recorded, right? And what you've just did is what is it called? You gave them basically the jurisdiction. You pledged
the property to them so they can hypothecate it, and that's what their CAFR is, their comprehensive annual financial report. It's where all of the real property that they've stolen from everybody else is listed. So basically what they do is they take the property out of the man or woman's name, or actually the person's name that had it before through their little process, and then they put it back into their name, but you're the tenant now. Okay? So they do this, it's slick how they do it. You know, each group, from your real estate agent to the real estate attorney to the escrow officers to the title company, are all state licensed to turn the property back over to the state, to make the state, or pledge it to, get you to pledge it to the state, right? So it's the state's property, and you have equitable use. That's why you're a tenant. As long as you use the state's property and make sure it's all up to code, and you get permission to do any changes, because it's not yours, and it's blatantly in front of you, because it says the assessor's parcel number, not Doug's parcel number, not Linka's parcel number, not Frank's parcel number, not Linda's parcel. It's the assessor's parcel number. So no matter what you do, you're a tenant on the assessor's private property. Okay? So, you know, there's ways of getting around this. There's ways of breaking, you know, this, and one of the ways is to expose their the fraud, because fraud vitiates everything. Okay?
I'm just looking at these comments. Yeah, it's a ripple effect. Yeah, it's ripple effect. It's this is like a cancer, you know. These they are the disease, you know. These people just don't even know what they are doing, and they've been literally hired to become part of criminal enterprise. The other question is, how do you stop notice of trustee sale for fraud, etc.? So Jennifer is asking.
How do you stop it?
How do you stop notice of trustee sale?
Well, I mean, they're giving you a notice that they're going to sell it. Give them a notice that you're challenging the debt.
Right, you are challenging the debt, that they loaned you something of substance of theirs to you. If
everybody went in and told them, look, I need you to provide me with the account number where you held something of substance of your property, okay, that you turned over to me, and I took full care, custody, and control over that account before there was a loan, okay, because that's what a loan is. They had to give you that before you could buy the house, because that's what the loan is. They give you something of substance of theirs, okay.
That's a simple definition of loan.
Okay, and so what should have happened is, hey, I got money to loan you. Okay, you come in. Okay, look, here's the money.
Yep.
Now you fill out this form right here, okay, because it's going to make you pay me back that money. But here's the money right here. I got it right here.
Yeah, it's like a pile, you know, like I have a big pile of money here, $500,000 of real money.
It's sitting in this account. It's something of substance, and it's yours. Okay, to purchase, because you're actually purchasing something with money of exchange, because you're exchanging something of substance for something of substance. Okay, not some fictional corporate note that has less money than monopoly money. It has less value than monopoly money, because at least you have to buy the monopoly game, okay, and spend something of substance on it, you know. Well, not really. You buy it for Federal Reserve notes, you know. So you get it for fraud. Basically,
we are so screwed with this system that, you know, if you really think about it, right? Let's say you go to buy a car, right? $20,000 cost, and from a private owner. They give you a car, right? And you give them $20,000 of debt, of notes, of promise to pay.
Promise to pay someday.
Someday, you know? And this is what we are dealing with. So with this whole mortgage fraud, it's really devastating to see how many people are, you know, and because we are dealing with the whole system that we live in, we don't have real courts, right? And everyone is on it, from the cops that are enforcing these foreclosure sales, with the counties that are on it, with the banksters who all initiate it. to all the way to the courts. You think that you will have some justice, but you really don't. And so it's very important. Remember that knowledge is power. And when it comes to money, we have to really, this is a mindset shift. You have to start realizing that you've never actually paid for anything your entire life, right? You've never paid for anything. We've been made believe that we have money, but we really don't. Those numbers, if you have some numbers, if you're lucky and you have some numbers in your bank account, it's not real money.
No.
It's not real money.
It's credit.
Time we have to rush it up because our battery is running out. So we will continue to be doing these videos on this because it's so important and so powerful, because land and house, that's what we all hope for and work for, and it's a foundation of family, of security.
It's an American dream.
And that's the American dream.
It's what people were promised. Look, if you've got your own land, I don't care if it's a quarter acre, half acre, whatever, man, you can grow your own food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can raise even small animals to eat.
Yep.
Okay, so I mean,
you can have water well. Make sure you have water well.
You have a
access
chance
to
of
water.
being self-sufficient and self-governing, which is what we're supposed to be, and private. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and so if you've got that land, you can always sustain yourself and your family, and so that's what they want to keep you away from. Is that self-governing, that self-sustaining lifestyle. Okay, and that's what we have to get back to, because as long as we allow these pieces of shit to control our lives and control our destiny, we are not sovereign. We have to grab the reins of our destiny. So over reins. We're the only ones that can guide our destiny. Okay, if we let anybody else do it, we're screwed. And you can turn around and look at what's happening out here right now. We're screwed. We've got all these people that are supposed to be serving us, trying to serve us up for dinner, is what they're trying to do. Okay.
Right, and what you have to before we have to finish up here, what you need to really realize is, right, that most people don't even grasp the concept where food comes from, right? And just imagine that the supermarket suddenly do not have the food. What would you do? What would you and your family do when suddenly, because most people kind of live the lifestyle, right, that we go to supermarket to buy the tomatoes, the bread, the eggs, the meat, the whatever we need, but really put yourself into that thought that this supermarket, that, you know, it's no longer, right? And this is why owning your land and having your land is the very first step to your freedom and to your personal liberty. And this is what these zookeepers, these puppet masters, do not want you to have. They want you to be dependent on them, because that's the concept since the beginning of mankind.
They keep you on a hamster wheel, running and running and running and never getting anywhere. And it's all done through, you know, this debt and this debt,
Mm-hmm.
this debt monetary system. It's totally backwards, and it's been inverted.
It's totally inverted. So, you know, when you really think about it, that we have society where we have no money, right? And as I was saying, is when you are lucky and you have some of the numbers in your bank account, they actually consider it their money, because it is their property. It's a property of the privately owned Federal Reserve banks. All right, this is not even yours. People's money is lawful money. Article 1, Section 10.
Gold and silver coin.
Silver.
That's what's called money of exchange. Okay, anytime that you can exchange something of value for something of value, you have actually bought and paid for something, or you have sustained a contract, because a contract has to be something of substance for something of substance, and there has to be a meeting of the minds. Since you were never loaned anything of substance of theirs, they never made you a loan, and therefore it's fraud. Fraud vitiates everything. So once you prove through a forensic audit or any of the other ways there are that they didn't loan you anything of substance, there is the fraud. It vitiates everything. Okay, and now you've got them for performing in a system of constructive fraud, for unjust enrichment with unclean hands and in bad faith. Okay, and they can't do that, and that's how you go after them. But you have to get the evidence first of the fraud, and the way that you do that is perform a forensic audit. Show me the account that held your property of substance that you turned over to me. I took full care, custody, and control over before there was a loan. Otherwise, there was no loan of something of exchange. Okay, and if there wasn't a loan of something of exchange, there was no loan. Okay, how are you going to loan my own property back, my own credit back to me, and then charge me interest on it? All right, that violates the GAAP. It's fraud. Okay.
It nullifies the contract itself because this wasn't disclosed.
Right.
There was no meeting of the mind. There was, it basically doesn't meet the 8 points of contract. Okay, so it's very important to remember. Our beautiful friends, thank you for joining us today. We will continue on this educational journey. There is so much to learn. This is just the beginning. And make sure you check us on YouTube. We will be also loading more videos. We are on Rumble, right? Rumble,
yeah.
Is it? Yeah. And we will try to do it more frequently. Sending much love, much light. Have an amazing rest of Sunday.
Bye.